I got a lot of other people. Isaac and Nick, are they all part of your team?
Yep.
Okay, let me see. Can't seem to move Nick to a panelist. I think he might, I don't know whether is not letting it happen, but I will allow him to talk so he can talk if need be. Okay. All right, Dick, you're up.
Okay, well, I'll try again. So this is a formal design review for Eversource Energy. Attention Jason St. Martin, 484 Willow Street, unnumbered lot and unnumbered lot off Willow Street, yep, West Yarmouth. Assessors map 73, parcels 10.1.1 and 11, zoning districts B3 and APD. Applicant is proposing to construct a parking lot with site improvements for use during energy emergencies after large storms when workers and vehicles are brought in from other locations to fix the energy grid. The lot will remain empty during normal times. I'm Richard Martin, Dick Martin, actually, the chairman, and we have Steve O'Neill and Charlie Adams here. And so who do we have presenting the proposal?
So I'm Jason St. Martin. I'm manager of facility operations for Eversource. I manage the property at 484 Willow Street and would be responsible for all the maintenance of this parcel that's going to be developed. I have the civil engineer team on board here with us that will be going over these plans, as well as Lee Ostrander. She is a manager of emergency preparedness and in charge of storm response in the area. So I'll let everyone kind of go around and just quickly introduce themselves as well. Emily?
Yeah, so my name is Emily Williamson. I'm a civil engineer with Shive Hattery. And yep, like Jason was saying, we've been working with Eversource to design these plans and make sure we're following the town code.
Isaac?
Yeah, I'm Isaac Hodgins with Shive Hattery. I'm working with Emily on the design. I'm also a civil engineer, kind of involved with the leadership of this project.
Stacy?
Hi, I'm Stacy, and I'm landscape architecture with the project team.
Danielle?
Yeah, Danielle Cavanary, project manager at Shive Hattery for this project.
And I'm Leo Ostrander, EP manager of logistics.
And Jack Moriarty's here as well.
Jack's in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Jack.
Trying to promote him, but I'm not allowed to. I can't promote.
That's all right. I
Okay,
think they get enough.
he hasn't been able
Yeah.
to be promoted.
He's demoted.
He's demoted instead. Okay, general review of the project is W, Jason?
So just an overview of the project. So we're looking to develop, any properties that we have available to us for storm response. Currently, we look to partner with business owners, schools, any type of communities we can partner with during emergency events to respond to storms. So where we have parcels available that may be able to develop something that we own, we're looking to develop them to improve our storm response. Again, as mentioned in the introduction, these parcels would be essentially left vacant. It's an empty lot. It's really for our use to allow our outside crews, so crews that are coming in from out of state that are called in to help support the storm response. So they would be coming in, checking into the property, getting their work assignments, getting their safety reviews, and then they're off and running. Essentially, once once the storm is over, a cleanup is performed and the vehicles go back to wherever they came from. They could be coming literally across the country. So, right now we partner with Joint Base Cape Cod Community College, Cape Cod Mall, and a number of other facilities across the Cape. So that's really the overview and what the purpose of this is. And then I guess I can turn it over to Emily, who can present the plans, if that's okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, let me share my screen. All right, can you guys see this okay?
Yep.
All right, so just to kind of reiterate where we're at, if can you see the Google Earth too?
Yes.
Yep, so just on Willow Street, just across from the Cape Cod Airport, and kind of the forested area there. Currently not in any floodplain or flood zones to worry about. And I know you guys all had a copy of these plans. So the first few sheets are just the boundary and topo survey. And then pretty much we would, remove a majority of these trees to make space for the parking lot and infiltration basin. We would retain the trees within that 20-foot setback, the existing trees, to help provide some of that screening. And then same on the south side there. Yep, so pretty much the idea is that we'd have an entrance off of Willow Street. The trucks could circulate in, drop off any trash they have, drop off or pick up any materials that they need, and then pull around. And then we have parking for about 97 trucks in here, which we do have light poles spaced throughout to provide site lighting. Also have some room for just temporary portable restrooms, mobile temporary trailers, things like that. And then we are showing, some storm sewer to help collect storms and make sure everything gets directed into our stormwater management area here. I'm not sure if you guys are the ones looking super closely at fire truck, but we do show that
No.
fire trucks can get in and out. And then we did provide kind of a high level grading plan, just to show that everything, even if the storm sewers were to clog, everything still would flow overland into this infiltration basin here. So it wouldn't spill out into Willow Street or anything like that. And then just a basic utility plan for all the storm sewer that we're proposing. And then the landscaping plan, which I believe will be of interest to you guys here shortly. I was just gonna, leave this very high level. I don't know if there's something specific you guys want me to dive into, or, if you have any questions off the bat.
Okay. I guess we can get into questions from the board here. Steve?
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the couple of things. What are you basing the 97 vehicles on? Is that for history, or is it just a guesstimate? And the reason behind that is just I'm trying to minimize the amount of trees that you have to eliminate, and that's one question. And the other one is, what are we doing for buffering the area around that? If you need to tear down or demolish or remove the amount of trees that you are.
Yep. So the 97 vehicles is based on the max that we can fit in there. Eversource has a design bucket truck that we're using for that dimensioning and spacing in here. And then pretty much these are all the operations that the trucks need to be able to get to, like I mentioned, the garbage bins, the material area. So it's all based on what's needed to, have an effective site for emergency response. And then pretty much that, the 97 is as many trucks as we could fit on the site while still leaving room for those additional items like the porta potties, the, stormwater management area, things like that. So it's not really like a random number. It's what we were able to fit on site.
Right, it's just to, sorry to interrupt, but just to densely populate it with line trucks as best we can with keeping the circulation and allowing, for the material storage and the other items that would be needed during an event. So if 97 isn't really a magic number, it's just basically what we were able to fit with the layout that we've come up with here.
And this duration of the event, correct?
This would only be used during the duration of the event, correct?
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Charlie?
My only concern has been on the loss of the vegetation in that area, and what effort has been made to replace as much as possible of that within the area.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I take it we're looking at minimum buffers relevant to 10 feet around most of the property with 20 feet on the street side, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the idea would be to maintain the existing trees and so forth within those buffers, correct?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
specifically for the front one, we maintain as much as we can along here. And then as you can see, Stacy, in the areas where either there wasn't many existing trees or, we need a little room for grading, she is proposing to put back or to install new vegetation along there.
All right. As the building department said that, I'm not quite sure how this works relevant to what would be a normal parking lot, and normal parking lot requirements might be, certainly in-lot trees and other things that might be required here. Do they say you need relief from the Board of Appeals on that, or is this really come under a different category where you're, essentially storing vehicles or whatever? I don't know. I mean, just to get to where I'm thinking, I could see maybe some give and take as to not having in-lot trees and so forth, because I can understand how that doesn't in one sense work here. But in lieu of that, maybe getting a little bit more buffers around the edges, or at least on the street side. Any thought been given to that? And is there, and how, and I guess you've done more than I did, or I probably should know this, as to what the town requires as to how this is defined as a parking lot.
Yeah, so we talked to Mark, and yeah, we'll go to the zoning board for relief from the in-lot tree requirement. And that's so far as the direction we've been given. If there was any, additional requirements with that, I'm not sure.
All right, and so kind of around the outside of the periphery apparently is all paved asphalt, and the interior is gravel. Is that correct?
Yeah, the interior will either be gravel or asphalt, just depending what the bids come back as.
And the other presently treed area to the, I'll call it the southeast or east, that's going to be cleared and then I guess a hole built in essence for drainage or
Correct.
So in other words, we have kind of an ugly hole there as well, right? Is that going to be allowed to naturally vegetate, or what do they do with that?
Yeah, that should have like a native kind of planting in there. I don't believe Eversource would be mowing that, correct?
No, not that. No. Not that portion of it.
So essentially they take the trees out and dig it out as a big hole for potential drainage, and then it naturally revegetates. Is that probably the idea?
Yeah, Stacy, you're proposing like a specific seed mix in there, right? One that's like a no-mow native plantings.
Yes, that's correct. That's kind of, it's what we've used on other Eversource projects in other communities. There's essentially like a no-mow kind of grass that's used for like habitat. Very minimal chemicals, just meant to kind of be a seed mix for basins and stormwater managements.
All right. I think that's all I have as questions. Kathy, you wrote up some comments for us to consider for consideration, and I don't know if you want to elaborate on those or
Kathy,
have me read them or what else.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yep.
This, can you guys all tell me, not for the homes, but can you tell me, just to refresh my memory, what surrounds the area in terms of, this is pretty much not a residential, it's a business.
Yeah, you have Eversource to the north there already, that
yeah,
very
yeah.
well developed. To the
Think-
south, you have like a driveway that goes to
A
Luke's Liquors
warehouse
has that
type of
storage
property.
Warehouse
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
There's a wooded lot to the directly to the south of this that has that driveway that
Yeah.
goes through it.
Yeah.
So
And
it
to-
is a B3's district.
And to the east, I think is all, is that town land to the east?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to get a kind of a flavor. Thank you.
I think obviously we all want to have power restored as quickly. as
Yeah, I mean,
possible during the
absolutely.
storm event.
I mean, the use and so forth is, I mean, we certainly understand and
Yeah.
I think everybody's happy with getting our power back on as quickly as possible and having as much help as you guys can provide. But I'm sorry, I interrupted. Kathy was going to
My
comment.
comment is that I think what you really need to be concentrating on is what are you going to give in return for no in-lot trees? Because this is going to be a very, I don't know, 3 acres.
Big area,
of
yeah. Big
impervious area. So I really think you need to make the buffers more than the bare minimum, in all honesty. I think you need to have at least 30 feet in the front, and it's very unclear the extent of the existing trees that would remain. I mean, what types are they and what sizes? I know you included some pictures, but once all of the stuff 20 feet back is removed, it's very difficult to see, how much you'll be able to see through that. So I think you're going to need to supplement with additional plantings, really to fully screen this parking lot from the public way. You also have a lot of extra pavement in the corner areas that you might be able to eliminate some of that and provide more buffers in the front corners on both sides. I don't think it would impact your functionality of what you're trying to do, but that would allow a whole nother area that you can buffer. You have that already, the cleared area where that driveway comes in. So that view from the northeast as you're driving up Willow Street, I think is going to be highly visible, this giant expanse. So I think you need a lot more bufferings, and it needs to really be concentrating on screening the site as much as possible. And making it bigger than the minimum, so that would be maybe a good compensation with ZBA for the lack of in-lot trees. You also have a future trail shown in the buffer on the south side. That's going to need to be eliminated because you can't have a trail that, I'm not really sure the purpose of that, but you can't have a trail in the buffer. Obviously, you would be eliminating all of the buffers.
Is that the continuation of the bike trail potentially? No.
It's not
Okay.
that area, no.
So those are really my comments. This does need to go through a stormwater management permit with the Conservation Commission because they're disturbing more than 1 acre of area. So that's a whole nother process where they get into the details of the stormwater management system, the operation management plan, as well as the erosion control measures that are going to be. So that's a fairly comprehensive permitting and usually is peer reviewed and everything. So that'll get addressed in that fashion. And then we still have to go to site plan review where, Mark will talk about all of his concerns or what you might need additional relief on. I know you've been talking with Mark throughout the process, and then you would go to the zoning board of appeals for any relief. But I think as much work as you can do to screen this from the public way, the better off we'll all be. And I guess the question is how tall are your lights going to be from the ground to the top of your light?
What did I see?
It's gonna be whatever the airport allows us.
Well,
I think originally they were proposed at 20 foot, but then we had a meeting with the airport asking to be lowered kind of as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have the exact height handy right now, but
I thought I read 20 foot someplace.
it is, but I don't know, this is the full 20 feet plus the 2 feet of the base for it. I'm just saying our zoning bylaws is maximum of 20 feet from the grade to the top of the structure. So if you are going higher than that, I think that would be a little bit more problematic because you'll probably see those, but you'd also need relief from that. It's just the question. But it sounds like
They have to comply with
the
the
airport's
airport.
gonna want it to be lower.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Have to walk it.
Yeah, we'll make sure to get that cleared up so that way it's, meets the
Well,
airport
it's like
requirements
profile.
and it won't be more than
Urgency.
20 feet.
What's the fence material?
I guess we haven't really discussed that quite yet with this project. Eversource, do you have a go-to type of fence?
No, kind of fencing runs all sorts of different flavors. Typically it's just chain link. I think depending on what, for other storage areas, if we're storing copper, that stuff barbed wire, but I wouldn't expect any of that here. It's not needed. None of those materials would be stored on site, other than during the event, and that's going to be removed after the event is over. So I know we haven't talked too much about fencing, but I don't know if it would just be chain link with some sort of integrated screening or something like that.
Well, I also think having the black coated, not just the galvanized.
Yep.
It looks a lot better.
Yep, I agree.
Anything else,
Is there a-
Kathy? I'm sorry, go ahead, Emily. Is that you?
Is there a particular type of fencing that could aid us in the buffers if there happen to be a couple areas where we had lesser buffers by chance? Or is the desire for it to really be extensively planted?
I think sometimes it's a combination, because it's going to take a while for the plantings to grow in. So maybe, a solid opaque fencing might make some sense in some areas in addition to some plantings. But it's really think full screening. And what measures you might be able to use in order to provide that. Because in general, it's going to be just a giant vacant, open, impervious area that we prefer just not to see.
Yeah, essentially, it's 3 acres of
nothing.
open area that's not going to look great when there are trucks in it, and it's not going to look great when there is nothing in it.
Yeah, it's Stacy's kind of likened to a nice park setting, but no trees and nothing else around it but open space. So, we understand what your needs are, but we also want to balance out with what we leave behind as a project for the rest of us to live with day to day.
And so I think what, if I can speak for the board, I think they're all looking at, a little give and take here. And some of the give on your part might be to have a better buffer, at least along Willow Street, to block the view of this. We're trying to, everybody's trying to improve the looks of Willow Street in general, and it's certainly, it's getting there, but it's got a ways to go, and we don't need to make it worse. And so whatever can be done in that respect would certainly be, I think, looked at favorably, and therefore, if you said, well, we're going to give this, and therefore we're not going to be looking to do plantings within the lot, which is kind of difficult in a case like this. I think you'd be pretty well received, probably.
That's great feedback. I appreciate that. Thank you. And we'll certainly look to incorporate some of these comments into the design as we move forward.
Is there I know you talked about possibly expanding those setbacks. Is there like a set distance you guys will require, or on either the
Well, right
frontage
now
or-
it's 20 feet required. I think maybe if we could at least see 30 feet on the street side.
And it's a function of what's there now too, because I know
we're-
you're trying to keep a lot of it, but maybe you see right through it and it needs to have some type of other plantings on the other side or something in order to screen it.
Yeah.
I think that, I'm so glad to see you have a landscape architect on board on your team, and I'm sure she can come up with a really good, comprehensive, robust screening plan, planting plan.
Yeah,
No
that-
pressure.
Yeah, like if all the existing trees were to stay, and then maybe a line of arborvitae type stuff as well, might be well received.
In the back. You want to look, nice, pretty stuff along the street, and then maybe a nice row of arborvitae on the back. So that's kind of like your back screen. So
Yep.
I have full confidence that you guys can come up with a good plan on that. But like I say, if you can even carve out, a little section of the pavement and provide more on the corners, I think that would be really good, because you have those openings already from the other roads. That'll really make it very visible, and 10 feet's definitely not going to cut.
Yeah, where you don't need that for turning radiuses, is, as Kathy's saying, in the corner, I can see in that northeast corner, for instance. There could certainly be a little more green space left there than just the normal 10-foot, buffer line on there.
Yeah.
And that would certainly be looked at. Whatever you can do to help screen this and provide as much greenery as possible, I guess, is what we're talking about. Anything else?
No, I'm good. The way the design review works is we have different siting strategies that we go through, and we have different building strategies that we go through. You
Yeah.
obviously don't have any buildings that you're proposing.
Most of them are
Permanent
going to be
ones,
not applicable.
so it will be not applicable. But what happens is this gets attached to site plan review comments, and then it goes to the ZBA. Design review is advisory for this type of project. But the ZBA really does listen to their recommendations when making conditions or approvals with regard to relief that's given. So we're just going to go through them and kind of talk about the different strategies. So the siting strategy is streetscape. It's really not applicable because there's no proposed permanent buildings. You can't bring them close. Tenant spaces are also not applicable. These are more for like physical commercial projects. Defining the street edge, it's not applicable. There are no proposed permanent buildings, but I also reference if you look at the comments below under landscaping, buffers, and screening, which we can talk about a little bit more. Shielding large buildings not applicable. Designing second story not applicable. Using the Topo to screen the new development, I think that's really not applicable. I don't think we want to eliminate all of that existing screening in the front to build a mound. So the first one I think is a discrepancy is the landscape buffers and screening, and I'm gonna read what I have here, and you guys can see how you want to edit it.
Okay.
The large parking area without any inlet trees should have a more robust buffer to screen the parking lot from the public way. It is unclear the extent of existing trees that would actually remain along the street and side buffers, the type and size, and how much screening this would provide once the clearing has been completed. Applicant may need to supplement with additional plantings to fully screen the large expansive parking area. Recommend increasing the front yard buffer to a minimum of 30 feet and supplementing existing vegetation as needed to fully screen the large open area. All new trees need to be 3-inch caliber. An effort should be made to minimize the amount of gravel paved area, especially in the front corners where additional buffering could be added, and that future trail shown on the south side of the lot would impact the required 10-foot wide landscape buffer and should be eliminated.
What was the reason for the trail?
I have
They
no-
didn't have it.
They didn't have any.
No.
Okay. All right. No, I think that's good. I think that covers that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Hey Kathy, could you after this, could you send us a copy of what you
Yes,
just read?
I'm
too?
sorry. That's
Okay.
the other, that's the next step. What happens is you'll get they will review the whole thing. They'll vote on everything. You will get a copy of it. You sign the bottom and send it back to me, and then you'll have the copy that goes with the site plan review. So you'll get a full copy, so you don't have to scramble and take notes on physically talking.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that. Parking lot visibility, it has discrepancies. See the comments above. Breaking up large parking lots has discrepancies. See the comments above. All your utilities are underground, is that correct?
Correct. Minus the light poles.
Correct. I meant like the electrical to the light poles is underground.
Yep.
Yeah, so you meet the standard for locating utilities underground. And then shielding loading areas, it's really it's not applicable. So we have loading areas per se. And then for the building strategies, I just indicated the project does not include any permanent buildings, and the building strategies are not applicable for this project. So we're just going to review the notes that I have in here so that they can vote on these as minutes to the meeting as well. The general description is to construct a parking lot with the site improvements to use during energy emergencies after large storms when workers and vehicles are brought in from other locations to fix the energy grid, and the lot will remain empty during normal times. Jason St. Martin discussed the need for parcels they own to improve storm response. These parcels will be left vacant except for out-of-state crews who are called in to help with storm events. Once the storm is over, there will be a cleanup. Currently, the team uses other facilities. Emily Williamson presented the site plans, noting the vacant wooded lot, trees within 20-foot front setback and 10-foot south side setback would remain for screening. Materials needed by the crews, 97 trucks, site lighting, portable restrooms, and temporary trailers will be located on the site. Stormwater drainage will be provided along with landscaping. So the design review committee questions and discussions. Steve O'Neill asked about the number of trucks they needed to store to minimize tree impacts and what is being done for buffering the parking lot. Emily Williamson indicated 97 vehicles is the maximum that will fit on the site for bucket trucks, along with operations trucks need for the emergency response. Mr. St. Martin noted they needed to keep vehicle circulation also and only use for duration of event. Charlie Adams was concerned about the loss of vegetation and effort to replace as much as possible within the area. Mr. Martin asked if they were providing only minimum buffers and retaining existing trees within the buffers. Ms. Williamson noted the additional plantings in areas of grading. Mr. Martin asked if these meet the parking lot requirements or if relief is needed from parking lot standards. Mr. Martin can understand no in-lot trees, but would compensate with additional width buffers and more plantings. Ms. Williamson said relief would be needed from in-lot tree requirements. Mr. Martin noted the areas of pavement and gravel and the stormwater drainage in the southeast corner, and will this area be naturally vegetated? Ms. Williamson noted that it would be naturalized. Stacy Brockett indicated a normal seed mix used for stormwater management. Kathy Williams reviewed the need to provide more buffers to fully screen the parking lot from the public ways, especially if there are no in-lot trees. She also inquired as to the fence material. Mr. St. Martin noted the fencing is typically chain link. Ms. Williams recommended using black coated rather than galvanized, and screening of the lot could include solid fencing along with robust plantings. Mr. Martin indicated that better buffing along Willow Street to block the view to improve the views from the public road would likely be viewed favorably in compensation for the in-lot trees. So if there's any edits, if not, I'm looking for a motion to approve the design review comments as meeting minutes for the September 20th, 2022 design review meeting for the proposed Eversource emergency parking area at 484 Willow Street.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimously.
Do they have any questions before we adjourn, or?
Any questions on your end?
I don't think so. Nope. I think we're good. I appreciate
All
it.
right. Okay.
So.
And no offense, but hopefully we don't see it too much this winter.
Or anyone.
I need a motion to adjourn the September 20th design review committee meeting.
So moved.
Moved and seconded and all in favor. Aye.
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 All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
And
See you at
Thanks,
site
everyone.
plan review.
thank you for your
Yeah,
good work.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
no problem.